So this is Rosalie Noah's birth story. She's my second daughter. Her pregnancy and everything was like really smooth until about 20 weeks, I think. It was a growth scan, and so I ended up being induced at 38 weeks. We made it that far. They weren't sure if I'd be able to hold off, just because they wanted to make sure the baby would be healthy. So being induced, very different from my first pregnancy. That was like all natural. This time it was scheduled, so I just waited for them to call me and tell me to come in. They started with a balloon catheter, which 10 out of 10 do not recommend. It hurts. But it's like necessary, so it worked, I guess, but it hurt. It hurt putting in, hurt coming out. I like bled a lot. But the fun thing about this was that the nurse was a new labor and delivery nurse. So she had someone like coming in and babysitting her. And then my doctor from my practice is really big. It has like 6 to 8 doctors, and you meet them all so that you know who you're gonna, like, who's delivering your baby. But for me, this lady, it was her first day at Yale. So she had been practicing for years, but it was her first day at that specific hospital. So she knew what she was doing. She just had no idea where anything was, or our protocol. She didn't know anything like that. So I was her first delivery. Rosie was her first delivery in Connecticut. But basically, because my nurse was new, she couldn't help me. Like, most of the time, nurses are amazing, and like my first nurse for my first pregnancy, she walked me through it. Like, without her, I don't know if I could have done it natural. This lady, she didn't do anything. So this whole pregnancy, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I have to do this on my own. Like, I don't have any help from these people. They're useless. So I felt more in control this time around. I don't know if it's probably partly because it was my second pregnancy, my second labor, so I knew more about what was happening, but also I knew I couldn't really count on them because they weren't reliable. So by this time, it's probably, I went in at like 8:30, 9, probably 11, they put me on Pitocin, so I started getting contractions like immediately. Actually, it was 10 o'clock, I think. 10 o'clock contractions started. So I started feeling it immediately. I was figuring this time around I would get an epidural, because Pitocin is just so strong and it kind of takes you 0 to 100, whereas natural, it's like step by step, so it progresses, and you are able to progress with it, like, whatever. This kind of just like, all of a sudden you're in excruciating pain, which is true. That is what it's like. But when the person came in that does the epidural, he came in, he like goes over whatever, and I wasn't in that much pain yet, but they have you just sign off on it so you're ready to go when you need it. And at the end, like, going through the list of like what could happen or whatever, he's like, the only thing is, like, if you have low blood pressure, like, it's really bad, we'd have to like give you this medication to, I don't know, whatever, I don't know the technical terms, I'm sorry. So I'm like, I have low blood pressure, and he like was like, oh, probably not that bad, and he like looked over at the computer, read my results, and he's like, you do have very low blood pressure. And then he waited. I think it'll be okay though. Think? I don't want you to think. Yeah, I want you to know. So right then and there, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna do this natural again. So into the night, I went with my contractions. It was terrible. And like I said, I felt like I just had to do this all on my own. My husband was there and he's great. He's awesome. He's the best. He's just the best. But nurse was like, so here I am having my contractions. I literally like got up and actually went like this. I'm on the bed like this, freaking out, like bearing down. Like I was pushing, but not pushing. I was really bearing down. And they say, like, when you look into how to do things naturally with labor, they say you like ride the contraction like you're in the ocean, like a wave takes you. I did not do that for the first one. I was just like screaming, like going crazy. This time around, I was like, okay, I have to do this myself. No one's gonna help me. So I was doing it. I was just like relaxing my body, letting the pain just take over my body. I was trying to feel everything, and it worked. So later on in the night, quick backstory, my husband's like, so how fast do you think this baby's gonna come? And I was like, I don't know, it's probably gonna take forever. It's I don't know, it's not natural. It normally takes like longer, I think. And he's like, no, I bet he'll go faster than Emma, my first baby. I was like, I don't know, I don't have any guesses. He's like, I think you'll have the baby by 6:30. I started the Pitocin at like 10:30, 11, right? So I was like, I mean, I wish, but no. So this all is going, I'm bearing down. I'm like starting to push. And my husband's like, nurse, she's pushing. And the nurse is like, let me call the doctor. The doctor came in, looked, and I think I was 7 centimeters dilated. She's like, she's not pushing. She's just bearing down. Like, she's not pushing. She's not ready yet. Let me just quick break her water. So she broke my water. And she's like, now we weren't like having the notes from your last kid that after your water broke, like she came quick. So she's like, I'll wait in the room. So she waited like 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. I don't know. Time just is blur when you're in labor. Let me tell you. And you know, baby wasn't coming, but I was like, but the baby's coming. I did have nitrous. Quick side note, I did take the nitrous, I don't know what time, but it like really didn't work for me. It worked amazing the first time, really helped with the pain. It did like nothing for me this time. Nitrous is really great though. I do recommend it. It helps with your breathing and stuff, so 10 out of 10 would recommend. Sometimes it works with the pain, sometimes it just helps like relax you a little bit. So where was I? So the doctor like leaves and was like, I gotta go check on another patient, but I'll be around. And I was like, okay. And so I'm like crying. Literally, I'm just like sitting there crying, and in my head I'm pushing, and my husband keeps saying like she's pushing. I think the last time like the doctor had, like when she left, she said I was 8 centimeters. And the nurse who was watching my nurse came in, and she's like, honey, turn around, get on the bedpost, and just lean over it, and the baby's gonna be out in no time. So I did. So I'm on the bed, like literally, like this is the bedpost. I'm like leaning on it on my knees though. So I'm like on my knees, like this. Okay. So I'm on my knees, looking up, like crying, thinking I'm never gonna have another kid again. And I look up, and there is the clock, and the clock reads 6:28. Reads 6:28. So I was like, this for you, honey. And I grabbed onto the post, and I just pushed so hard with the next contraction, And Bud starts screaming. My husband's name is Bud. He starts like yelling. He's like, the baby, she's pushing. And so the nurse like looks, and there's the baby's head, you know. So she, being new, runs out of the room to go find the doctor. She doesn't call, she doesn't hit the button. She runs out of the room. She leaves us. So I'm just feeling free. I'm pushing. This baby's coming out. I don't really care what's happening behind me. I know the baby's coming. So I'm pushing, and I turn around because I'm like, okay, I don't want the baby to fall on the bed. And I look, and there's my husband like this, ready to catch it. I say it because we didn't know it was a girl at this time. We waited. But as I was turning and watching Bud hold out his hands, the doctor came running in the room, throwing on gloves, and as she got to the bed, she grabbed the head, and the baby just slid right out. So having Miss Rosie definitely was a crazy different experience from my first. I definitely know that I was more confident. I feel like I did that all myself. They weren't doing anything to help me really. I just like labored by myself in that bed, crying, bleeding all over the place. It was terrible. It was a mess. It was really a big mess compared to my first daughter. That was just like a lot smoother. Not that the doctor wasn't great who delivered Rosie. She was actually pretty cool. And I really like her. But she almost didn't make it. So my advice for any first-time moms or second, third, fourth, whatever the case may be, is definitely give birth on your hands and knees. I did not tear. It was just so much easier pushing out a kid that way. I pushed for my first, kind of like on my back, on my butt, like how, you know, they normally have you in the stirrups. They do that, and that was horrible. I pushed for 2 hours for my first. 2 hours. That was terrible. So definitely recommend give birth on your hands and knees. It's so much easier. No tearing, no ripping. It's easy, except for the pain. That's not easy. And here we just have that end result, our little Rosie Posy.
Alright, the contractions have started. They're coming fast and furious.
It hurts.
Poor Becky.
Birth. Move around all angles. So I can turn around.
Hey guys, update.
Baby's here.
This is Miss Rosalie Noah Allen. Check her out. 5 pounds.
Can you really recording me right now?
What are you drinking?